All right, let's dive right in. We're going to be looking at one of the most, well, structurally powerful chapters in the entire Quran. That's Surah 11, or Hud. Now, we're not just going to treat this as a bunch of old stories. Instead, we're going to unpack it as a living blueprint, a kind of cosmic cycle that just keeps repeating. You'll see how this ancient text is actually a map for our own spiritual journey, right here and now. So let's get started.
And right at the very heart of this chapter, you find this incredibly direct command. Seriously, it's not a suggestion, it's not a piece of advice, it is the central axis for the entire surah. It's all about divine alignment, finding that straight path and just sticking to it, no matter what. This single verse, it anchors absolutely everything we're about to explore.
So a great way to think about Surah 11 is like this. It's the Quran's spinal column. It's the structural core, an axis of divine correction that keeps snapping humanity back into alignment whenever we start to, stray from the path. It reveals this pattern that's not just ancient history, but a spiritual reality that plays out over and over again. And this gets us to the core mechanism, the engine driving this whole thing. It's a cycle that's been called prophetic realignment. And look, this is not a straight line. It's not A, then B, then C. It's a repeating loop. A divine sign shows up. Humanity pushes back. Then, bam, a huge consequence, a reset. And then, out of the rubble, a new chance for rebirth is offered. It's a pattern.
And there is no better example of this cycle in action than the story of Noah. It is the ultimate divine reset. It's that moment where one reality just completely collapses and a new one is born from this tiny purified seed. Let's really break down how this works.
Okay, so this cycle pretty much always unfolds in 4 key stages. Step 1, divine signs or ayat, these clear proofs of reality, they're revealed. Step 2, what does humanity do? Well, pretty typically, we respond with resistance and denial. Step 3, this resistance triggers a divine consequence, a massive reset. And finally, step 4, out of that reset, a purified seed is saved to start the whole thing over. This 4-step pattern is the absolute key to understanding this.
Wow. This verse right here, it captures that exact moment of separation perfectly. See, the command to embark isn't just, hey, get on the boat. It's a command to cross a threshold into a completely new reality, a new state of being, while the old world of denial is literally being washed away. It's a clean, decisive, absolute break.
And this leads to a really fascinating idea. The ark is described as an ontological seal. Just think about that for a second. It wasn't just a boat made of wood. It was a metaphysical boundary. Inside the ark, you had a reality built on truth and submission being preserved. Outside, the reality built on denial was just collapsing, ceasing to exist. 2 completely different worlds, separated by a divine seal.
But here's the real kicker. You'd think the story ends there, right? A clean slate. But nope, the cycle doesn't stop with the reset. Even after this huge, massive divine intervention, the potential to mess up just snaps right back. This purified lineage, the survivors, they're told to descend in peace. And what do? They almost immediately start demanding idols. It just goes to show you, this struggle for alignment is constant, it's internal, and purity is incredibly fragile.
Okay, so let's dig into the why of this cycle. What is it that causes this constant refusal? Well, it's framed in terms of these 2 spiritual states, a kind of blindness and a kind of deafness. And these states, they lead directly to a collision with something called divine fire.
So this refusal, it happens in 2 escalating stages. First, you have what's called spiritual blindness. This is basically just choosing not to see the sign, the ayat, that's right there in front of your face. And that leads to losing your way, getting disoriented. But it can get much, much worse. That's spiritual deafness. This is when you don't just ignore the sign. You actively try to destroy it. Think about the people who killed the sacred she-camel. That's a total, complete severance from the divine frequency.
Now, how you respond with blindness or deafness, that determines your relationship with this divine fire. And here's the thing, it's not just one kind of fire. On one hand, you have Ar-Rahim, a creative, guiding fire that actually cools into peace and life. Think of the fire that Moses saw. But then you have its opposite, Al-Ghazim, a contracting, isolating fire that seals the heart and pride and just collapses the soul. Think of Iblis. The element is the same, but our alignment, it changes everything.
So if refusal leads to this destructive fire, what's the way out? What's the alternative? Well, it all comes down to submission and sacrifice. And we see this in a really beautiful, kind of subtle way with the story of Ibrahim's angelic guests. They refuse to eat the food he offers them. Now, you might think that's a bad thing, but it's not. It's a sign that the system is already in perfect balance. The sacrifice has already been accepted on a higher level, so the covenant is totally intact. There's no dissonance.
Okay, so now we're going to take this huge cosmic pattern and we're going to bring it right down to the here and now, right down to a personal level. Because listen, this cycle, it isn't just something that happened to ancient prophets thousands of years ago. It is happening inside every single one of us, right now.
And that means the question becomes incredibly direct. Where do you fit into this pattern? Right now, in your life, are you aligning? Are you resisting? Or are you maybe even in the middle of a reset? And this isn't some abstract, theological question. This is about the very fabric of your soul and the choices you're making every single day.
So, the human soul itself actually contains this duality. It's like we're built with two competing forces. On one side, you have the nafs al-mutmainna. That's the soul at peace. It naturally wants to align with truth, with light. But then you have its opposite, the nafs al-amara, the part of the soul that pulls us toward our ego, toward self-destruction. It's like a particle and an antiparticle living inside of you, and you exist right in the space between them.
And there's this fascinating, almost scientific-sounding metaphor used for this. We are a living spinner in motion. Now, I know that sounds really complex, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple, and it's profound. It means that every single moral choice we make, every time you choose mercy over rage, or truth over what's comfortable, or repentance instead of just justifying yourself, each of those choices is an active rotation. It is you steering your own soul through this entire cosmic system in real time.
And this is the final takeaway, and it's a big one. You are not just a spectator watching some divine pattern unfold. Your life, your choices, your consciousness itself, you are the living solution to this cosmic equation. You are solving it with every breath right here, right now. The only question is, what will your answer be?